Kiss Army, y'all are nothing but a bunch of animals! Which is perfect because today on episode 111 of the Kiss Army Things podcast, we're going to be reviewing Animalize in its entirety, going track by track, which is perfect because we are celebrating the 40th anniversary since its release. So what better way to celebrate the release than just to listen to the album a million times and then review it track by track. Daphne, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be talking about this album. I've had a great time listening to it over the last week.
Before we do any sort of talking about Kiss and celebrating Kiss, I want to real quickly thank everybody that's watching and everybody that has subscribed because we have just reached 3,000 subscribers.
Nice!
And we did, I think, last week, but I wanted to wait just because...
Sometimes it can fluctuate.
In case somebody just started to unsubscribe, right. I did it a little too premature. But no, I really want to thank everybody. I don't even know what to say other than thank you because, 3,000 maybe not seem like a much, to somebody else, but to us, it really means a lot.
That's a lot.
What it means to me, what it says to me is that there are people out there who still love Kiss, that still want to talk about Kiss and get in on Kiss discussions and sharing their thoughts and sharing their opinions and sharing their memories and their stories and all of that. And so if that's you, then you're in the right place. That's what we do around here. Not everything is just a big celebration always, pretty much. And today is no different. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Animalize, the second non-makeup Kiss album. And yeah, this one is one that for me personally ranks pretty high. This is one that fluctuates in the top 5.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I think I have my top 4, but that 5th spot is always reserved for whatever 80s album I'm currently listening to, whether it's Hot in the Shade, Animalize, whatever it happens to be. That spot, Lick It Up, that spot's always open. And of course, right now, Animalize is in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, no reason to do any Kiss spotlight because Animalize is the spotlight.
This is obviously our spotlight.
It's the reason for the season.
It's all I've been listening to.
For the episode. Yeah, so everybody might be familiar. If you've been watching this whole summer, we did Kiss Tribute Summer, talking about Kiss tribute bands and songs that Kiss have covered and other bands that have covered Kiss songs. And so now it's going to be album anniversary autumn because we literally have right now, which we're doing Animalize, coming up is Hot in the Shade, and then we have Sonic Boom. The 50th anniversary for Hotter Than Hell is next month, so it's literally going to be just album anniversary after album anniversary, which I'm really excited for.
I'm so excited
that
for
means
Hot in the Shade
we're just going to be listening for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
But all that means is that we're just going to be listening to a bunch of Kiss from here on out for the next couple months.
And I just want to say before I forget that Xander let me wear this amazing Animalize vintage shirt today with, of course, Bruce added on for the tour. But he has a couple of these vintage ones, and normally they're kind of stored away for safekeeping. But he's like, hey, did one of those fit you? And I was like, yes, let me wear it, please.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I feel bad because I don't have any actual Animalize, T-shirts, so I couldn't really participate in the 80s fun. But no, I was like, if one of us is going to, it's got to be you, especially since the shirt fits. How does it smell? Does it smell...
It smells vintage.
That's a very polite way of saying it.
Yeah, it's a very polite way. Maybe musty would be another word I would use, but, it's worth it.
I remember when I first bought it, and then I opened it on the show with Jeb, and I even made some comments about how it was like... It smelled like an old man's basement or something like that, and I think, that smell... It's been sitting in a bag.
Probably should wash it.
Maybe, yeah, but I'm just afraid of...
I can hand wash it, maybe.
For sure, yeah. I'm just always worried about losing the color, losing the print, whatever it is. But anyway, let's go ahead and get diving into the music. We have plenty of merch and stuff to talk about later on in the show. We'll do that at the end. But again, this whole episode is just going to be a full track-by-track review of Animalize. Even though it is a short album, one of the shorter ones, it packs a punch.
That's exactly the words I was going to use. It packs a punch.
Well, and especially since we're talking about... let's just go ahead and get into it. The opening song.
Oh my gosh.
I've Had Enough, Into the Fire. Yeah.
Wow.
This one is a smoker. And I feel like when Kiss opens an album, every album, the album opener is always a smoker. Yeah. It's always a ripper.
This one specifically reminds me exactly of the way that Exciter makes me feel at the beginning of Lick It Up. Like, it is the same kind of, just hard-hitting, super fast, super exciting energy. And it gets me excited for the album in the same way that the beginning of Lick It Up does. It's so good.
It feels like Kiss always has something to prove on every album. You know what I mean? Whether it's something that the critics said on the last album, that the album wasn't as good, so now they have to, make a good album. Or maybe the last one was really good, now it has to be even better. And it's like, there's always pressure on bands, artists, and in this case, Kiss, to either, reach a certain level or maintain a certain level. And when I think about just Kiss at this time in their career, I mean, they let Vinnie Vincent go earlier this year. The album came out like September, depending on who you ask. Kiss posted on the 13th saying that this album was released on the 13th. And then on Wikipedia, it says 17th. So we're uploading ours on the 15th just to kind of meet
right in the middle.
Right in the middle, depending on what you want to go with. But anyway, this is a tough time because they just took off the makeup.
Yeah.
Let's look it up. Big success for them. It was their first, I think, gold album in a long time, in a few years. So that was really big. But they let Vinnie Vincent go. Now they have this guy, Mark St. John. They got a revolving door of guitarists. It's like, this is your second album post-makeup. This is the new Kiss. So you really have to, I guess, bring the heat.
Yeah.
Is a good word to say, a good phrase. And they brought the heat with this one.
They brought it.
This one, I remember back when in high school listening to this one and was just really wanted to get a feel for Mark St. John. Because Heaven's on Fire, which we'll get to it, is a very simplistic song. You don't really get a whole lot from it. But growing up, having heard about Mark St. John, but never really getting to hear him until Jeb and I bought this album. I mean, this was like, it was almost like Bruce who, Ace who, Tommy who, Vinny who, because you're listening to this opening riff. It opens up with a solo.
Yeah.
Screaming guitar solo. Eric Carr, of course, going crazy with the fills. Which actually, I was listening to the fills just a little bit ago before the show, and it was very reminiscent of, which I guess actually it's the opposite. His drum solo on the Animalize tour uses some of those fills from that song, because you just hear him going from left up top on those higher pitched drums all the way down in between these, screeching guitars. And then once that song kicks in, it just kicks in, and it's unrelenting all the way through. And I think this one might be one of my favorite songs off the album.
It's in my top 2 or 3 on this album.
Okay,
for sure. It is fantastic.
I'm interested to hear what you're...
And I love it because Paul has a very specific category of song that he does a lot. And it's the, take no crap from anybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to be successful in my own right. Screw everybody else. That's, a very specific... and very, I don't want to say overdone because I love it, but very fleshed out concept that Paul does in a lot of his songs. And this one is a perfect example of that. Just really motivating, and I don't know. That's
a really interesting observation because, again, just when you think about Kiss at this time period, you have 3 of the 4 original members who are either not there or not participating. Gene was off in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He was phoning in songs and just trying to, get in the studio, get out as quick as possible. Even, and we'll see, allowing others to just do his own bass parts.
Yeah.
We have ghost players and session players who are taking over for Gene. So, I mean, it kind of really is Paul.
Yeah.
And he's telling...
It's like him against the world.
I've had enough.
Yeah.
Out of the cold, into the fire, it's just me. I'm going to prove myself.
Nothing and no one is stopping me
now. No one is stopping me now. You know what? It's funny you say that because I have right here the lyric sheet.
Okay.
Because for you guys, it's the band there. But on the back of the original sleeve, there was lyrics printed, which that was always my favorite thing, is getting lyrics. With the album that you can just kind of... sit there and as you're listening to the music, you can read along with the lyrics and memorize them.
Yes.
And, so some of the lyrics here, how many times have they lied with the truth in their eyes? Treat you like dirt, wasting the days of our lives. They try and deny it, ain't gonna buy it. Just look around. Before it's all over, it's gonna get rough. I've had enough. Out of the cold, into the fire. Nothing and no one is stopping me now. Just hang tough and we'll make it somehow.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Paul... talking to not just the fans, but also himself.
To himself, yeah.
Yeah, he says, just hang tough and we'll make it somehow.
Right.
Talking to himself.
It's
just get through it.
It's like life is rough and life is gonna beat you down, but you can't let that get to you. And you've got to, step into your own power. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And, create your own success. I feel like that's Paul Stanley in a nutshell.
No, it's funny because you say that because there's a lyric that says, no time for dreaming, I've got the power. This is the hour now. But even the second verse has, how many times have you given up more than you got, counting on things turning out when you know they will not? Ain't gonna take it, kick it and break it, just look around. Before it's all over, it's gonna get rough. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of an opening song that really sets the tone, not just for the album, but I guess maybe where Paul is
Yeah.
And this is Paul and Desmond Child
Right.
mess around right now, so that's pretty awesome. You got a classic Paul and Desmond songwriting. Yeah, you notice that there are no songs on this album. I'm looking around. There are no songs that are credited to Gene and Paul.
That's true.
Every now
That's
and again,
true.
you'll have a song where Gene comes up with a verse or a chorus, and then Paul comes up with the opposite, and they kind of slam two and two together. Let Me Know is a good example. Rock and Roll at Night is another good example. But nothing here.
No,
it's
they were
literally
working very separately at this point.
It's Gene either writing by himself
or with another co-writer,
or with Mitch,
mm-hmm.
and then you have Paul writing with either. Oh damn! There's a Paul and Mitch. We'll get to that. That's cool. But no, it's
a lot of Desmond too.
Paul and Desmond and Paul and Jean Beauvoir.
Yeah.
But no, if you're going to open up an album, this is the way to do it. It absolutely smokes. I'm talking double bass drumming, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
You got, I don't know if there were actual sweeps or not, because it's the 80s, so that stuff was kind of still being developed. But the crazy guitar you're getting from Mark St. John.
Wow.
Whereas guys like Gene and Paul would say, oh, he's just puking notes. It's like different strokes for different folks, man, because especially at that point in time, that kind of playing was in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's got to be a reason why it's funny how they always shit on Mark St. John, and it's like, oh yeah, he was just a filler guy. It's like, well, you picked him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know it was last minute, and I know you needed somebody, because again, they fired Vinny in March or something like that, and then you have this album coming out in September of the same year, meaning Lick It Up tour ended in March.
That's crazy. They were so fast.
The last show on the Lick It Up tour was in Evansville, Indiana, and that was the last show with Vinny Vincent, and that was in I think March or early spring of '84, and then by fall, boom, brand new album written, recorded, produced, released.
It's crazy.
Kiss works very fast,
Yeah.
even when they weren't doing 2 albums a year like they were 10 years prior. They were still just cranking it out, and
a tour for the previous album and a new album in the same year is a lot of work.
Yeah, and we know that Gene and Paul are the kind of guys. Paul especially is never looking back, always looking forward.
Yeah.
So okay, we just did Lick It Up with that guy. Now we got to move forward with somebody else, but also keep this momentum going. We're talking about how great Unmasked Kiss is, and how new and better this is. We got to prove it. So this song to me is a 10 out of 10. Paul's vocals, rhythm guitar, and bass. So Paul, performs the vocals, the rhythm guitar, and bass. My first thought was when listening to the song was why was this not played live more?
For real.
And it turns out it actually was.
Okay.
It was played more often than I ever knew. It was actually the opening song on the opening night of the tour.
Dang.
Track 1.
I did not know that.
No, I don't think I've ever heard Soundboard. Maybe it is, but I think the show was it was in Brighton, England. Literally 2 weeks after the album was released. They're already on tour for the album. So again, talking about Kiss working fast.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy to me. That it was played live, not only just on the opening night, but eventually it was moved down to halfway in the set, but was still played for over 20 shows.
Wow.
On that tour, which makes me really sad, because I think that might have been right before Poughkeepsie, because on the Poughkeepsie soundboard with Mark St. John, you don't have that song on there.
I didn't think so, yeah.
And so they must have just taken it out, which is a bummer, because that would have been a good one to hear.
That would be so cool to have a live version.
I've had enough into the fire.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I feel like people were always talking about Mark St. John on that soundboard, you can tell he's not rehearsed, he's not comfortable, and it's he's not rehearsed, he hasn't played that many shows, only 1, 2, maybe tops.
He's had no time.
And these aren't those 70s songs weren't songs that he wrote originally and played on, so I can't help but think that playing this song, a song that he was actually there for when it was being written and recorded, would have sounded great live. So I'll have to go back and see if I can find some of those soundboard recordings. But this definitely is one of my favorite, not just songs off of Animalize, but one of my favorite songs from 80s Kiss.
Yeah.
Just because you're getting that incredible musicianship, that fast speed metal, which Kiss is really known for. Kiss is known mostly for songs like Heaven's on Fire, track number 2, which is, more of a poppy, radio-friendly song. It's not a bad song. Obviously, it's one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. But it's crazy how Kiss goes from that song to this song. So I want to know what your thoughts are on Heaven's on Fire, because I'm going to talk a lot about it, because it's my favorite.
Yeah, it is fantastic. It is one of the best Kiss songs. I think this might be the most iconic intro to any Kiss song I can think of. I can't think of anything that tops Paul's vocals at the beginning of this song.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It was an accident.
Really?
Did you know this?
Oh, yes, you told me this before. Isn't he, like, warming up?
He was doing some vocal warm-ups.
Insane.
Yeah, he was doing his, classic Paul Stanley yodels, just getting the vocal cords worked up. And I guess whoever was working the engineering board just happened to push record right before he did one last take and was like, all right, here we go, good. No, okay, yes, so he had just done his first take and was like, no, I want to do another one. And then started doing his vocal warm-ups and was like, okay, let's go. And just happened to do one more vocal warm-up as the guy was recording to do his second take. And that was it. It was a happy accident.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
It's so I can't imagine it without that.
Yeah.
It's a perfect song. Like, I have pretty much no notes for this song. It, like you said, it is the structure of the song is more poppy, but in a really good way, because you can't not get this song in your head.
Yeah.
It's so good live. It's so good to sing along with live. It's just perfect.
This one was, of course, the first single on the album because it has that pop
Rightfully
flavor.
So.
And I
Perfect
mean,
choice.
you could put this song up with others, like Poison and, like Twisted Sister, I Want to Rock, or, those 80s songs, Round and Round. I mean, it just fits in. Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me. It just fits in with that. If you were to do an epic 80s playlist, Heaven's on Fire would have to be on that playlist.
100%.
And it makes sense why it did get so much rotation on MTV. But I'm just going to say this. I think the version any live version is better than the studio version.
Okay.
Just because, obviously, there's more energy, there's more crowd response. But the one thing that you don't... Well, I guess you don't really get this live either, but it's the guitar solo.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really get a full guitar solo with this song. Because it just really quickly goes into the... Live, it goes into the breakdown section, which is always my favorite part. And that's why I loved hearing it on the End of the Road tour, because that was the first time I got to hear that song live.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was obviously yours too.
Yeah.
But we heard it, I don't know how many times, but it never got old.
No.
Because I can think back to watching that East Rutherford, New Jersey show on Kissology Volume 3 back when it was, actually broadcast on TV as the pay-per-view. And they played that song. And first of all, hearing Peter Criss and Ace Frehley play 80s Kiss
crazy.
Was every bit as cool as hearing Eric and Tommy play something from, Eric Carr's era or, whatever era, Carnival, they don't play Carnival of Souls, but you know what I mean? It's like hearing Kiss play other Kiss makes it more Kiss. And to me, that version on East Rutherford is one of my favorite version.
Yeah, I will never get why people don't like that. Because, I
know.
To me, that's like you said, it's like the most Kiss you could possibly get. It's like crossover within the band. It's so cool.
Peter and Ace played I Love It Loud on that tour, and they played Lick It Up.
That's so cool.
That's 3 80s songs, 3 songs that, Eric Carr played that Peter's now playing. And it's like, that's what I love. Again, when we saw Eric Singer wearing Eric Carr's outfit, the Kiss World Tour, when they were wearing Creatures outfits, and you had Eric Singer wearing, the Catman makeup and the Fox outfit, it's like, that's what we're
so
all about.
Cool.
That's what we're all about. You know what I mean? That's so cool. Keep the Kiss going. Keep the Kiss fun going. But anyway, so we'll just keep it back to this. But no, I mean, obviously, yes, iconic song, heavy rotation on MTV. It was released 2 days after the album was released. So typically, bands and artists released singles before the album to kind of promote it.
Yeah.
And so that was not the case here. The album dropped 2 days
before
later.
Before
any single came out.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. And that to me is weird. Maybe that worked for them at this time. The album comes out, and then he released a single 2 days later, and it's a smash hit on the radio, on MTV. People go buy the album. And then 2 weeks later they're on tour. So it's just a weird cycle, I guess. Because typically you think about Kiss releasing, or any band, just releasing music to promote the album.
Yeah.
Then releasing the album, releasing another single while they go on tour.
Right.
Just to kind of keep the momentum going. But this one, I don't know. Maybe there was a reason for it, but when I was looking at the dates, I was like, okay, September 19th is when this song was released. The album comes out allegedly the 13th or 17th, whatever. Mm-hmm. They're on tour by the 30th. So the whole month...
That's crazy.
The whole month was like, let's go.
That's crazy to go on tour like that quickly after releasing an album.
Yeah.
I just think like it gives...
today that would never happen.
No,
today that would never happen.
Today that would never happen because it doesn't give your audience any time to like learn and get used to the album.
Which
so
isn't that kind of ironic because today things move by so fast that it would almost be possible for, like let's say, one of your favorite artists releases an album and you listen to the album every single day on streaming or on CD or whatever, and then she's on tour in 2 weeks, It's like you go to the concert. It's like that could happen.
Yeah, but I'm
where's
crazy.
The fun in that?
I'm not like I feel like most people aren't gonna like have it memorized in that amount of time.
For sure.
You know
I mean, I'm like that with Eminem.
I feel like that's for us diehards.
Maybe, but
maybe there's enough of them out there.
If Eminem drops an album, I'm like listening to the songs over and over and over again,
Yeah.
trying to get that flow, trying to get the rhyme scheme, just trying to figure it out. And it's like, this guy's incredible. And it's like, so artists and fans, I guess, are like that. But it's just funny how in '84, when things maybe could have moved a little bit slower and could have spread them out, Kiss was...
They were not stopping.
They were in the studio, out of the studio, on the road.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this one was obviously one of the best tracks on the album. It was a huge hit for Kiss. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It was number 11 on Billboard's Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks, 49 on Billboard Hot 100, and it's the only video to feature Mark St. John, which is unfortunate because we're going to get to it, but there was another opportunity for him to possibly appear in a music video. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I guess maybe not. But this one, it's a good music video, but it's not my favorite Kiss music video. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a little bit cheesy and it has an 80s cheese. See, for me, I love the performance aspect of it because there's a performance part where it's like they're performing the song in the studio, and there's a moment where Eric Carr comes up behind Paul and surprises him, and you can clearly see it was a surprise, and then goes back to the drum kit. It's like that stuff was really cool.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole
stuff.
Yeah, but of course there's like the sleazy 80s side where they're like making out with chicks in a room, and it's like, oh no, we got caught, and it's like, okay, whatever, this is like a glorified reality TV show or whatever. But that was the 80s, and that was Kiss. Yeah, I mean, and it was nowhere near as bad as what was to come on Kiss Exposed.
Yeah, for real.
So I'll take this any day. But, I mean, I guess it's cool that Mark St. John was in this video because it did get such heavy rotation. But I just can't help but think that it could have been a lot cooler with maybe a full performance aspect. That would have been awesome. But either way, anything else you want to say about Heaven's on Fire? I mean, this is a fire song.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like I said, no notes.
Yeah, I want to know what everybody else thinks of it because if I was just to dig my hole deeper, I already talked about how I loved hearing Ace and Peter play this. I also think that not only is that version better than this version, I think the version on Kiss Classics, Jacopa Retsutin, the re-release, is better than this.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting take.
Yes. And I don't know why that is. To me, this version, I don't know, maybe it's just because you're coming off of I've Had Enough Into the Fire.
Yeah.
But this song just feels weak compared to some of the other ones. It's obviously cleverly written. Mm-hmm. It's structured nicely in a pop way, but compared to songs like I've Had Enough, and we're going to get to Burn Bitch Burn and Lonely as Under the Gun, it's like, man, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't hold a candle in terms of like speed and intensity. But again, it's just classic Kiss because it goes back to those simple chords, catchy hook. So I mean, it's a perfect Kiss song, but I like my Kiss to have some meat on it. So and that's why I like it live, because live, whenever Kiss plays anything live, it's always better. All right, let's go. Track number 3, Burn Bitch Burn. What do you think?
I'll be honest, the Gene songs on this album are not...
You're not alone. They're not it?
They're not it. They're not my favorite.
You're not alone in thinking that.
I mean, it's fine, but it's just, I feel like all of his songwriting on this album is so half-baked. And
you're
nonsensical, and this one is, like, aggressively sexual, and, like, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna put my log in your fireplace.
That's just corny, but...
That one is, has become legendary.
Yeah.
And I actually heard that lyric before I even heard this song.
Did you really?
Because I think it was Craig Gass, during Gene Simmons' roast.
Okay.
Got up there, and this was like 06 or something, and was reading lyrics. And he said, I'm reading from the Book of Asylum, or I'm reading from the Book of Animalize. And he's, reads the lyric, I'm going to put my log in your fireplace. And I remember being like, I hope he's kidding. Because I'd never heard that song, and I don't have Animalize because I was still a kid, but I was like, what the heck? And so here we go, fast forward a few years later, I'm in high school, and I get the song, and I hear it, and I'm like, that's it. That's the lyric.
That's a real
the classic lyric. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to...
on a Kiss album.
There's a... what's funny is that the opening lyric to this is... Well, it's out of the frying pan and into the fire.
I know, I noticed that too.
And that's also the opening lyric, or one of the lyrics in, I think, Russian Roulette on Sonic Boom.
I was gonna say, I do feel like Gene said that before. And
Out
then,
of the frying pan into the fire. Yeah.
And then we also had in Paul's first song on this album,
True.
Out of the Cold into the Fire, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that is, and I wonder if maybe this lyric was one that Gene had written for, one of these songs or another song that was maybe going to get put on an album, and then when they came to do Sonic Boom, because we know for a fact that he had taken his 80s songs and just kind of rewrote them in a modern day fashion.
100%.
I mean, what was I'm an Animal?
Yes.
We always forget the name.
We love it.
It's so funny how we always
so
forget
much.
the name. It's the Penny Lane demo. I know that. Feel Like Heaven.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was almost there.
Yeah, Feel Like Heaven became I'm an Animal. But I wonder if maybe Gene had maybe looked at some of these old 80s songs and took that one and put it in the new one, because it definitely feels like a parallel there. But yeah, this song is definitely interesting. It's obviously a Gene co-write.
Yeah.
Or no, a Gene only write.
Yes,
yeah,
it's very much. Yeah.
No co-writes on this.
I think if he had a co-writer, then maybe it'd be a little better.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll see, because this actually, to me, is better than some of the other songs we're going to hear from Gene on this album. But see, my thing with this song is, I think musically it's better than it is lyrically.
Yes, 100%.
Because lyrically, Gene was just kind of phoning it in and writing whatever. I mean, we talked about how on the last album, on Lick It Up, what was that song? Your Dance All Over Your Face, or one of those other ones where he was, almost just putting together, all these, cliche phrases.
Yes, yeah.
And it's almost like the same thing here.
That is a very common Gene thing.
Gotta keep my tail between my legs.
Yes.
You're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yes, very common phrases, and either just inserting them or changing them a little bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't... Sometimes it works, because sometimes that is a cool songwriting tool, honestly.
And I think he thinks it's being cool.
It can be if it's done right, but he overdoes it so much, and he does it in a way that doesn't really make sense or serve the song. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're gonna do that, it needs to be one per song, and it needs to really make sense. But his is every line.
Exactly. Pick one and make it the theme.
Yes.
Build all the
That's
others around that one.
Yes.
I mean, make it a scheme, not just random stuff. Because he goes on to say, the heels are stacked against you. Don't burn your bridges. And it's okay, Gene, just That's
what
funny.
What are you talking
it's
about?
funny. The riff, though, the opening riff
I do like it musically. Yeah.
Opening riff slays. And I think my favorite part, and it's funny how this is a Gene song, and this is my favorite part. My favorite part is when Paul Stanley comes in. Because I don't know if this was something that Gene wanted. Hey, Paul, I want you to put in some ad-libs here.
Yeah.
Or if Paul heard the song and was no, there has to be something here. Or maybe if I do this, it'll seem like we're a band,
right?
We're more together.
We did this together.
But he throws in a couple whoa, yes, in there.
The first time I noticed his voice on this song, I was like, oh, Paul.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a nice little Paul in the background, kind of over his shoulder. Paul cameo.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a Paul Stanley cameo.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is what makes the song work, too. Because I think you get some harmonies with Paul as well. And Gene and Paul harmonizing is always great. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that, to me, is the best part of this song. Lyrically, it's whatever. I think it's also the longest song on the album, I believe. I think it's the longest track on the album.
Interesting.
And you could have really cut off some of the verses and some of the, not some of the verses, but you could have, maybe taken some meat off and just kind of keep what's actually there. But I don't know. It's a classic Gene song, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's funny how
I don't hate it. But...
No, I don't hate it either. And it's funny how you have track 1, Paul Stanley, track 2, Paul Stanley, and then track 3, Gene Simmons. So
then we're going back to Paul Stanley.
And then you have another Paul Stanley. Yeah, actually, track 4, Get All You Can Take. So what are your thoughts on Get All You Can Take? Here's this if you want to look at the lyrics, too.
I would love to, yes.
Because I know that sometimes we don't really hear all the lyrics, so looking at them can really also change your perspective,
and can also just remind you of certain things, yeah. This is another great one, and it is another addition. I could make a playlist of these kind of Paul Stanley songs. This is another, super inspirational Paul Stanley song that,
I didn't notice it as much until this time.
Yeah.
Because I was focusing really intently, for the review, for the show, and I was listening to the lyrics, and I was like, this is, you're right, it's one of those ones that, really pumps you up.
Yes.
And I think Paul's writing it to not just pump himself up, but just to pump everybody else up, too.
You gotta get all you can take. First of all, I love this. Sing along, let me hear you humming. That's so good. Stop waiting for your lucky break. And what difference does it make? Which I noticed that they don't put the F word in the lyrics.
Why?
It's not there. What difference does it make?
Yeah.
The F word is in this song.
Yeah, this is the only Kiss studio song to actually use the F word, and nobody ever knew that.
And I feel like a lot of people just must not hear it.
They don't.
Because they don't put it in the lyrics. It's not marked like explicit or anything like that. It's just kind of in the background.
That's a good point. Maybe they didn't, because if they did, was the parental advisory thing around at this time?
That's a good question. I don't know when that came into play.
This is 84, so it's either...
That may have been a late
I was going to say, that
thing.
might have been a little bit later, but I wonder if there was any sort of like... if they were to have printed the F word,
right?
And then they make it known that it's actually on the album.
Yeah.
If Mercury would have had to done something different, if it would have hindered sales or hindered distribution in some way.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a sneaky little way to.
Well, they definitely did sneak it in there, because it's funny, because when you bring this up, like, yeah, Kiss says the F word in this song on the studio album. Everyone says no, Kiss is not that kind of band. I mean, they say hell, bitch, and damn, and whatever.
Right.
I mean, they got burn, bitch, burn right there, but like they don't say those kinds of words. On albums, and it's like, hey, they do in the chorus. This is what fucking difference does it make? Got to keep you coming. Which "Keep Me Coming," when he says that, almost makes me think of a throwback to the song "Keep Me Coming" on Cruises of the Night.
Yep.
Maybe not, but that's just my Kiss brain at work. But yeah, it is a great song. I will say, I think though, out of all the Paul songs, this might be my least favorite Paul song on the album.
Okay.
Which, I mean, obviously, it's still a great song. But if I were to like have to pick my least favorite Paul song, which nobody's forcing me to, but I'm just saying, like, this one might be it. And I'm honestly surprised that it appears this early in the album. I think this would have been one that should have appeared later in the album.
Okay.
Because, I mean, obviously Gene's songs are not the strongest, no offense. And I mean, they are good, but again, when you're competing with Paul and Desmond, and Paul and Jean Beauvoir, your song is going to pale in comparison.
Yeah, that's fair.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But no, I just feel like for some reason, and it's just an opinion thing. Somebody else could love this song and hate "Thrills in the Night," for instance. But I think "Thrills in the Night" should have been here.
Okay, that's fair.
I just feel like if you're gonna
"Thrills in the Night" is kind of buried for how fire it is.
It's a really, really good song, and we're gonna talk about how even more buried it is when we get there. But I just feel like in terms of the album flow, it would have been good to hear this one, or good to hear "Thrills in the Night" here, and maybe have "Get All You Can Take" at a later time. Because again, it is another one of those uplifting, one of those
like motivational
songs, exactly. Yeah. So I can see why it's on the album and why he wrote it, but I don't know. I think it could have benefited from being a little bit lower, but still a great song.
Indeed.
We talked about how Gene, was just kind of getting in and out of the studio. So here is an example of a song where Jean Beauvoir not only co-wrote the song, but is playing bass.
Oh, okay.
On the album, so, on the song. So not that there's any like crazy bass that I'm hearing on the song, crazy bass playing, but it just goes to show that here's one song where Gene was either not present for, or just didn't want to do it, or was fine with whatever Jean recorded. I know sometimes studio time does get expensive.
Right.
So if it's a good bass track, why waste more money and more time when, whatever. So I get that, but I think this is one of those times where Gene just wasn't
around.
Just wasn't, was not in the studio. But I will say, I do want to give some credit to the outro on this song, because even though this is my least favorite Paul song on the album, the outro section that starts at around 3:22 is killer.
Yeah.
You have this great riff, first of all, and Eric Carr is throwing in some like tasty drum fills, and then you have some really quick flurries from Mark St. John, I think, if Mark St. John's on. Actually, it could be, it could be Mitch Weissman, actually.
Okay.
Because this one was, I said this one was written by Jean Beauvoir. It is not written by Jean Beauvoir. No. This is written by Mitch Weissman. Yep. This is the one that was written by Paul and Mitch. So even though Jean Beauvoir does play bass, it was Mitch that co-wrote it, and it's also Mitch that plays some additional guitar.
Okay.
So it's not certain, what guitar he added, but now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if it is that outro section.
Okay.
Was what Mitch added. I don't know. Either way, I just noticed this time around that the outro section was just really killer.
Stuck out.
So even though I was like, yeah, this is a good song, but I really dig these other songs by Paul more. I got to the outro, I was like, ooh, rewind. I gotta hear that. And I even made a mention of like 3:22. Let's go.
That's awesome.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, this is a great song. I really like this one. The Paul songs on this album are really, really strong. So even if it is one of my least favorites as well, it's still...
Oh, absolutely,
No offense,
absolutely.
it's still above probably every Gene song on the album.
Yes. Now, I gotta say, though, track number 5, Lonely is the Hunter,
Okay.
is my favorite Gene
Is
song
it?
on that. Yes.
Okay.
This one I really dig. And this is one where Gene wrote only himself as well.
Yes.
And this one, I mean, okay, I will say, lyrically, it does not do much for me.
It still makes no sense.
Lyrically, what's that lyric? You got it right there. Asked her for a refill, sweat flew off my face.
She's a torture chamber, kept me in a cage. Yeah. Wow.
There's just some lyrics on there that, like, I don't know. Yeah, okay, the last one you read was pretty cool. Torture chamber, you know. But some of the lyrics, again, it's just, Gene, where are you getting these? It's very stream of consciousness, which, again, you know, a lot of Gene songs already are.
I mean, we start out immediately with those like corny like phrases again. My eggs in one basket. She threw me a bone.
Yes.
She dealt a full deck. Like those just 3 in a row and that make no sense together whatsoever.
No.
Like what story are you telling here?
He's
I don't
trying
understand.
to be, you know, clever, you know, lyrically clever, but it's just
I think the only thing I'm trying to squeeze a story out of this somehow.
Here we go. Force it.
The only thing I can get. So she's dealt a full deck. She likes to live alone. And then later on he says, she drained the last drop. Girls love money like bees to the honey. Lonely is the hunter. So
that's fire.
I'm getting like gold digger vibes. Maybe
that part right there. Say it again. The bees to honey.
Girls love money like bees to honey.
But
lonely is the hunter.
But lonely is the hunter.
So she's like a gold digger, but that's caused her to be like lonely as a human being. That's I might be being generous with my interpretation, but.
No, that's interesting because
more.
I had a completely different interpretation. I
really?
like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And mine's a little more sexist, so you forgive me, but lonely is the hunter for me was always like, you know, you can be with this girl and you can be with that because you know you're a rock star. You know, you hang out with this girl this night and this girl next night, and in a different city.
So you're thinking of him as the hunter.
So he's hunted on the prowl. You know, oh, she's dealt a full deck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Asked her for a refill and slip flop. I'm nervous. You know. But, you know, even though you are with all these women, you know, night for night, it's like, at the end of the night, lonely is the hunter.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So, I really don't know, because I like what you said, too. So, that's... Guys in the comments, everybody in the comments,
tell us what
if
you
you're
think.
watching, let me know.
Is Gene the hunter, or are we telling a story about a woman who's a hunter?
I'm going to read it. So, yeah, eggs in one basket, threw me a bone, she was dealt a full deck, but she likes to live alone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, so she likes to live alone.
Right.
So, maybe it is her. Ain't just talking to myself. Need a reason to stop. With a flower in her teeth, she drained her last drop. Yeah. I mean, she's a torture chamber. She kept me in a cage. She's a legendary figure. When I seduced her in my bed, she gave a cold reading. Success went to her head. In the heat of battle, the heart cannot rule. I'm such a fool. Those lyrics are a lot better than some of the other ones in this album.
They are. The more you try and read into it, the more it makes sense. I do think that we're telling the story of somebody else.
Yeah, and this song lyrically was one that, for whatever reason, I just never understood it when I'm listening. It's hard to understand Gene's lyrics.
Yeah.
Like, I never would have got my eggs in one basket. She threw me a bone.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't know the lyrics already from actually looking at the lyric sheet and having heard it forever. But when I first heard it for a long time, I was like, I don't know what he's saying. And so reading the lyrics, I guess you do get a better sense of it. But the reason why this song is my favorite Gene song on the album is because of the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's a great
song.
song.
I'm gonna be a hypocrite for a second because I talked about how Heaven's on Fire was a little bit too slow, a little bit too paced when compared to songs like, you know, I've Had Enough. But the reason why I like this one is because it does have a nice pace.
Yeah, it does.
It feels like heaven. No, it feels like the same pace of All Hell's Breaking Loose off Look It Up.
Yeah.
Where it has a very slow beat, but it's one that you can...
Slow, but still heavy enough.
But you can, vibe to it, and you can jam to it. And this one, when I air drum, and there's a reason why this one was on my Gene playlist a few episodes ago, is because it's just a really good song, but, like, the riff is fun. It's not overly, you know, complicated like some of the other riffs might be. It's just really simple musically. And there's even a jam at a certain point that just gave me like hardcore classic Kiss vibes. And I almost sound stupid when I'm making music sounds, but there's a part in it where it's like dun 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 dun. It's this jam part in the middle that sounds so awesome. And it makes me think of like Cold Gin when it's the dun 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 dun. You know, you have a song, but somewhere along the way, Kiss they go off into a jam.
Yeah, it's their own little groove.
Their own little groove. You
Yeah.
got Psycho Circus does that. Creatures of the Night does that. And so here's another example of it where I just love those jams, man.
Yeah.
Eric Carr. And this might be, I think this was one where Bruce did the guitar solo.
Okay,
so
cool.
you have Bruce Kulick, his first appearance on a Kiss album.
I did not know that.
As a ghost player, a session player. On this song.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Wow.
He played I don't know if he did anything else, if he did the whole song, or if it was just the solo, but I'm pretty sure this is a Bruce Kulick solo.
That's awesome.
I'll have to ask him someday. But either way, here, you can...
This. I like looking at
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want, you can hold that. But yeah, and you can kind of tell that it's not a Mark St. John solo, too, because it doesn't have that, scale arpeggio sound to it. It's more just a melodic guitar solo. But let's get into number 6, man. Track number 6. This is my favorite track on the album. This is my favorite off Animalize. Under the Gun.
Top 2 or 3 for sure. I love this song. First of all, Eric Carr writing credits.
Yes, ma'am.
Please explain. That's
yes,
amazing.
Ma'am. So I don't know that Eric wrote any actual lyrics to this.
Just some of the musical arrangements, maybe?
But Eric Carr is the one that started this song, and it was his double bass. So Paul liked that and wrote the song around that and used Eric Carr's, rhythm and double bass pattern as a foundation.
Yeah.
And therefore, that earned him a writing credit. Because,
that's awesome.
All right, so yeah, a credit because he's the one that really came up with the music.
It's so cool to see Paul Stanley, Eric Carr, Desmond Child.
Yeah, and Paul and Desmond wrote the lyrics
yeah.
together to Eric's music.
That's great. That's such a cool way to write a song. I love that.
And if anybody else has any additional information, because, I do the best I can to try and get as factual information as I can, but, I don't know everything, so... if you guys know anything else about Eric Carr's involvement on this song, please let me know, because anytime Eric Carr has involvement in Kiss writing process is fantastic. Yeah. We talked about already All Hell's Breaking Loose. Yep. That was his song that he brought to the table as well. I think Under the Rose on The Elder was one that he helped write and play. So, yeah, here we go. You got an Eric Carr co-write, which, yeah, you can't go wrong there.
Is Mark St. John playing guitar on this song?
This is a Mark St. John song.
Because the guitar at the beginning of this song is so good. Just like just the opening, yeah.
Yeah, well, the opening riff or the opening solo? The opening riff could be Paul.
Okay, that's cool too.
The opening riff could be Paul, but as soon as it gets into the main beat, you already have a slamming guitar solo, just like you did on I Had Enough. Yeah, that's the thing about this, and maybe Vinny did it on Lick It Up as well, but I've noticed that like on almost every song on this album, the song begins with a guitar solo.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like Mark St. John just can't fucking wait. He's like, go. He just can't hold it back. He just has to go. Which I love. I think it's great. I know some people don't like the shredding that Mark St. John did, but I cannot get enough of it.
Yeah, I love it.
I like that kind of stuff, and especially when I don't understand it, because I'm a drummer, so when I'm doing my fast, crazy fills that nobody else can comprehend, you got Mark St. John doing his fast.
Matching it,
I call him the Spider.
Oh, yeah?
I've only seen very, very limited footage of Mark St. John actually physically playing the guitar, but when you watch him play, he can play every single note possible on the guitar in 5 seconds, going up and down the guitar.
It's crazy.
And it's like watching a spider crawl.
Yeah.
It really is. Again, I know some folks think it's all just flashy and whatever, but it takes some real skill to do that.
It might not be your style, and I understand if
different
it's not.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I understand if it's not, but you have to appreciate like the talent that goes into that.
He was the most talented Kiss guitar player.
The technicality, that's crazy.
And it must have sucked being that talented playing Cold Gin.
Yeah.
You're making decent money, but you're thinking, I'm meant for more.
Than this.
I'm meant for more than this.
That's funny.
But I'm just glad that he got to, at least do what he did on this album, because the shredding is fantastic, and yeah, like you said, the opening solo, gnarly.
So good. This song is so good, and this is yet another like hyper confident Paul Stanley song. Like all of his songs have a similar, except for We'll Get to Thrills in the Night is different. But yeah. I feel like all the other Paul songs on this album have a similar theme, and a similar like confidence and drive and motivation. And this is no exception to that. And we're going back to that really, really fast, really, really energetic. I don't know. I just love it.
Oh, no, absolutely. My favorite thing about this album and this era of Kiss is the double bass drumming.
Yeah.
I feel like I say it all the time, but like that's just what I like. You know what I mean? And especially when you're getting into the 80s where you know, you have bands like Metallica and then Slayer and then Venom, and you got like it's the speed metal was in full force. And Kiss doesn't need to do that. You know, they can be their own thing and do this and do that, whatever. But as a metalhead myself, I love when you hear Kiss kind of like flex their muscles. You know, they crack their necks a little bit, and then they get going. They get to picking, and they get to slamming. And, of course, we know how fast they were playing live around this era.
Gosh,
I mean, we've all seen Animalize live Uncensored. It's like everybody just did a line
like
of Betty White and said, let's go.
forward.
Yeah, everybody just said, let's go. You know what I mean? Everybody's in fast forward. That was a nice way of saying it.
Yeah.
But this is the 80s, so, you know, I know that well, imagine if Gina Paul did do drugs. Holy crap. Imagine if Eric Carr... They didn't need it. They didn't need it. They had enough energy for another whole band separately. But like, just I love the energy that they were bringing on songs like this, because you think about Lick It Up, you got Exciter, and Give Me More, and Young and Wasted, and I think those songs definitely came across more heavy than this. This felt more flashy and more 80s, whereas that was a little bit more gritty and more metal.
Right.
But you're still getting that same intensity in terms of
energy,
double bass and just the guitar playing. The flurries. This song has another outro that's absolutely incredible. Yeah. Where you get the outro solo. Eric has some quick fills, and then Paul right at the end he goes fire and ends. That's a great way to end it, because my favorite part is the fire.
It's so good.
Under the gun. Fire.
I also just want to note a lyric that you pointed out recently that we can't get enough of now.
What?
I don't need a reason to get crazy. I'm getting crazy, and that's
enough.
I love it so
that
much.
cracks me up
so good.
Now more than ever. It is just the most bare bones, like...
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not even sorry about it.
No.
I'm going to get crazy. This is your warning.
You don't need a reason.
If you don't like it, about face, because right now I'm going to 11. Yeah. I don't need a reason to get crazy. I'm getting crazy, and that's enough. And that's the most Kiss thing I've ever heard.
I love it. It's
now,
so good.
I thought you were going to go with the other lyric.
Okay.
Let's hit the highway doing 69.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
That one is just tongue-in-cheek. I'm
That's
sure
good, though.
every teenager that heard this probably got a little, oh, he said that, Anyway, no, this song is definitely one of my favorite. One of the best on the record. Paul and Desmond wrote another great song. Eric Carr's musical contributions were great. I wish they would have let Eric do more stuff like this.
Yeah, same.
Because Eric, being a beastly drummer, and also very creative musically, was, bringing some really good stuff. But I think Paul had a big head and was kind of, even though he was like forced into being the leader of the band, he kind of kept to it,
Yeah, well, and
he could have easily said, Eric, step up, man. We need you to step up.
Yeah.
It's just me out here.
Yeah, but I think Paul always likes to have a level of control.
Sure.
Over everything.
Oh, yeah. No, and you're absolutely right. Yeah. But it just sucks that I think,
he's like Paul McCartney in that way.
Yes, no, 100%. But Eric Carr was so willing to help.
And so excited.
How many guys do you know, how many musicians do you know that just want to show up, get there, and get out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's just play our show and get off stage. I don't want to hang around and talk to fans.
Right.
I don't want to load equipment. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Let's just get in the studio and get out. I don't want to hang around, talk, and vibe, whatever. But it's like you have Eric Carr, who literally goes out of his way every step of the way to contribute and participate as best as he can, as much as he can.
Just so happy and grateful to be there, too.
Just so happy and grateful to be there, and was contributing really good stuff. We've all heard Eyes of Love, man. Eyes of Love, that demo, is one of the best Kiss demos ever. And it's not even Kiss, it's just Eric Carr. But it wasn't on an album because Paul probably thought it was too good. I can't have, it's too good. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It sucks because, it's only making your band better.
Right.
So I wish we could see more Eric Carr co-writes, but I'm glad we got what we got.
Me too.
On this one. So now let's go ahead. Number 7, Thrills in the Night. Also written by Paul and Jean Beauvoir. This is the one where...
I think it's the only one that Jean Beauvoir writes on.
Okay, for sure.
You said he plays on Get All You Can Take.
Yes.
This is the only one he's credited for writing.
Earlier I mistook him for both co-writer and musician.
Yeah.
This is the one that he co-wrote and played bass on.
Yeah.
So I got that mixed up earlier. But this is the one that was written by Paul and Jean Beauvoir. John also plays bass. G must have been out that day, I guess. But the opening solo, again, is tasty. I don't know if it's Mark St. John. I would assume so. I don't think Mitch Weissman had any additional guitar parts on here. So you have Mark St. John playing a beautiful opening solo. This is a it's a beautiful song. That's
I
the only way
love
to really describe
this
it.
song. This might be my
This
favorite.
This is your favorite song
I
on
think
the
this
album?
is my favorite song of the album.
Okay.
It's so good.
Did not see that coming.
I love this one. And I love it because even though this is a very fast-paced album all the way through, even the quote-unquote slower songs like Lonely as the Hunter and Thrills in the Night are still very upbeat, but this is kind of a nice change of pace because it is a little bit
absolutely.
slowed down, and this is another one that's like, this is like a story, and I think this one kind of accomplishes more successfully what Gene was trying to accomplish with Lonely as the Hunter. Which we've redeemed it a little bit with our breakdown of it, but I think this one is more, I don't know, Paul just, it reminds me of...
He can set a scene.
Yes, it reminds me of, like, Hide Your Heart, you know what I mean? Like,
We've talked about
the story of, like, some fictional character.
Yeah, you're right. We have talked about
it's so good.
Kiss songwriting, or storytelling in songs, and we only really call out Detroit Rock City and Hide Your Heart.
There's so many more.
But this is one that really does tell... I mean, read some of those lyrics because...
I mean, just right at the beginning, early morning as she wakes from her sleep, 9 to 5 is the day that she'll keep. Ties up her hair and her blouse buttoned tight, gets her work done as she waits for the night. It, like, tells a story of, like, this, like, you know, proper, like, businesswoman, basically, by day.
It's really cool.
Who gets a little freaky at night.
Yeah.
But it's told in such a beautiful way.
It really is.
I love it.
This is one that structurally, lyrically, you do not hear songs like this. Because the way you read it, like, just now, was... very storytelling, very sentences. It wasn't like, you know, broken up phrases like most songs are, right?
Yeah, and like Lonely as the Hunter is.
It's more poetry, whereas this one is just...
It's more narrative.
It's just sentences. It's more narrative.
Yeah,
and
I really like songs like that. I really gravitate towards songs like that. That's why I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, and Paul and John nailed that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there aren't very many songs that present themselves like this. Not to mention, because you went songwriting, and what I was thinking with this one was... You know, Eric Carr plays on the toms. So the intro is dun 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 dun. So usually it's doom doo da doom, but he's doing doom doo boom doom, using the tom drums as opposed to the snare. And that might not sound, you know, crazy to anybody, but that changes everything.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's so unique and so cool, and I can't think of any other Kiss song that does that. Maybe there is, and maybe you guys will let me know, please. But this is truly a unique Kiss song.
So good. As she's walking around like a mystery, there's a woman that nobody sees living inside. Oh, it's so good.
This one has some really awesome outro vocals too from Paul Stanley, because we always we've talked about how, you know, pop songs nowadays, and it's always been this way, but just nowadays a lot too, you hear on the outro of a pop song the vocals get really big.
And a lot of
ad-libs over the chorus
Yep.
As the song is, you know, finishing up and fading out. And you have a lot of that here, where you have the chorus where Paul is singing on the chorus, but then you have a second Paul Stanley coming in over top, just going ballistic vocally.
I love that.
Doing vocals that you would have not have gotten on, you know, albums 3 or 4 or 5 albums ago.
Yeah.
You know, because his vocals were just improving at a rapid rate by this point, that, you know, he's just writing and recording whatever he wants at this point. You know, he's no longer being held back.
Exactly.
And so when it comes to just Paul Stanley at his 80s peak, you know, you can see him in songs like this, reaching that level. We didn't even mention in I've Had Enough, the part before the solo where Paul goes, ah! I can't, I'm not even going to try and do it, but you know what I'm talking about.
I can't do it. Vocals, I especially can't do it with my current scratchy voice. Yeah. But it's so satisfying.
Double bass drumming with the guitar getting higher and higher, and Paul's vocals are getting higher and higher with it.
It happens twice.
Yeah, it happens twice where it gets even higher. So it's
so
just,
good.
You know, Paul was just unleashing and unloading. So
yeah.
I loved this song. The thing about this song though that doesn't really get mentioned a lot about is the original video concept for this. So there was a video released for this, but it was mostly a performance. I think it was a performance video.
Okay.
Where they took clips from Animalize Live Uncensored and just took that and put it to the music. There was an original concept for this video that was shot and never released. And it featured Kiss as they were dressed up like office workers.
What?
And
like, I mean, that fits the...
Like businessmen. And they were, in the office, you had Eric Carr apparently smoking a big old fat cigarette. or a fat cigar. With his feet up on the
That's
desk.
amazing.
And it never got released because apparently Mercury, the label or the band, thought it was too hokey and too cheesy. And I was like, no.
It's the 80s.
That
what is wrong
80s.
with you?
You literally let Who Wants to Be Lonely and All Night come out the next album.
What?
And if you thought that was
crazy.
But this would have been a really cool video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the original concept would have been great. I mean, I mean, maybe, again, I haven't seen the footage, so I don't know. But in my mind, if you've got guys like Kiss, you know, dressed up as office workers, just taking on various roles, whereas your main lead, the woman, you know, you're telling her story, but Kiss is in the video.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Put it in black and white.
Yeah.
That's even cooler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously going to be shot on analog film, so put a black and white filter over it and just make it a cool, fun video.
Yeah, and then you could switch to other scenes that show, like, her at night and her going out on the town as a different person, basically.
Yeah, if they thought that was hokey, I mean, they ought to look into 1 year's time when they're doing
For
Tears
real.
Are Falling and All Night and Who Wants to Be Lonely, because that doesn't hold a candle. But anyway, so the reason why there was a video is because this was released as a single as well.
Okay.
This was the only other single released.
That makes sense to me.
And I don't think it even charted.
Really?
I don't think it even charted at all. There is no record of this charting, winning any awards, no video play on MTV, heavy rotation, none of that. Nothing.
That's crazy. I
Nothing.
love this song.
And I think I know why. Because we talked about earlier how it was weird for Kiss to release the album and then release a single and then go on tour back to back to back within 2 weeks.
Right.
Well, if you thought that was weird, check this out. They didn't even release this as a single until January of '85. What were they doing? What was Mercury doing?
So long?
I don't know, and I think that's why it didn't chart. That's why it flopped, because your album comes out and said they should have released this first.
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know.
I still think
Maybe
Heaven's on Fire is
Heaven's
the perfect...
on Fire should have been released in the summer.
Yes, before the album came out.
To promote the album, and then in the fall you release it, and then now that you're in the fall, you release a more slow or more romantic song.
Yeah, Thrills in the Night makes sense.
See, this song should have been released like in October.
Yeah.
You know, while they're on tour.
Yeah.
You know, and they could be on say, this is our newest single.
Promoting it, absolutely.
But you wait until January '85 to where everybody's already heard the album.
We already know the album. We already know this song. It's not exciting.
They already like it or they don't like it.
Right.
But you could have made them love it.
You making it a single is not going to change anybody's opinion on it when it's been out.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know whose decision that was, but it just seemed like a misstep for me. Not this song being a single, but the way they released it.
Yeah.
The way they released it just
Agreed.
didn't make sense. But we'll move on now because we have two more songs, two amazing, brilliant, out of this world Gene songs. These are his magnum opuses.
Is that right?
No, these are actually what I would say the true beginning of Gene's 80s filler.
Really? Okay.
Lick It Up. Young and Wasted was really good. Not for the Innocent was really good. Dance All Over Your Face, okay, whatever. On the Eighth Day was really good. But I think this album right here, Animalize, is where you see Gene starting to really phone it in, and he's just kind of going through the motions. Yeah. And so it is what it is. I mean, While the City Sleeps is what we're talking about. So While the City Sleeps, written by Gene and Mitch Weissman. So Mitch got a few co-writes on this album.
Quite a few.
And had
half the album.
Half the album. Well, and this is also one where he provides some additional guitar work too. Okay, so I don't know what guitar work it is, but you have Gene, Paul, Eric, and Mark with Mitch adding some guitar somewhere in the mix. But this is one where I was like, I don't really have any notes.
No, it just kind of exists. The lyrics are like not as wacky as some of the other ones, but they still don't really make any sense. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, the city sleeps, so it takes place at night.
Yeah.
Okay. But is there really anything that's actually happening in the song? Is there anything to really grab a hold of? Not really. To me, the music is more interesting.
Burn Your Bridges. Doesn't he say that in another song on this album?
Burn your bridges, can't take what you... What is it?
Burn your bridges, take what you can get. Go for the throat because you paid your debt. Didn't he say burn your bridges in another song?
Yes! Burn you burn your bridges!
Yes!
Well, we're all through.
He's
using the same lyric twice.
He's using the same... And it's another one of those common phrases. He's using another one of those common phrases multiple times on the same album.
Maybe that was Mitch.
Maybe.
I guess. I'm just playing. I don't know.
Give Gene the benefit of the doubt there.
No, we shouldn't because it was definitely Gene.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like... It's not a bad song, but it's just there's nothing nothing really that grabs me about it.
No, me neither. And I'll be honest, I think this one compared to Murder in High Heels, I like this one better.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I disagree. I think I like Murder in High Heels better.
Maybe I'm getting mixed up. I don't know.
Yeah.
For sure. So
I mean, neither of them are like masterpieces. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But are we moving on to
Go
Murder in
on,
High Heels?
let's
We don't
go.
have a lot to say about one.
Well, we really don't.
I mean, like I said, also not a masterpiece, but I do like this one more because I like the low vocals. I don't know. It's just more interesting. What did I have? Sorry, hold on.
The guitar on this one, I will say, is a lot more feisty.
It has this one musically has a really cool groove to it. I think maybe that's why I like it more. It doesn't really have any more substance than any of his other songs lyrically, but it just has a cool groove to it musically.
I think
that
I'm
I like.
mixing these songs up.
You want to play a little bit of it for a second?
I can't. Can you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I might be getting these songs mixed up. Because again, I mean, they're just 2 Gene Filler songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I could take or leave either.
Since Paul produced the album, it wouldn't surprise me if Paul's the one that arranged the album and put these songs last. Because I mean, put the strong stuff at the beginning. But yeah, what's the first song?
You want me to play While the City Sleeps first? I like that better.
You know what's funny is that when this just came to me. As soon as he starts singing, it gives me Hot in the Shade vibes. How?
Really?
Let
me hear that.
All of a sudden, this goes from like Animalize.
Yeah.
With a sleight of hand and a word of mouth. He's already going back to... I wish G would make something up of his own.
Yes.
Well, I don't know, because he did, and we got Log in Your Fireplace. I don't know if we want Gene to go too rogue.
Yeah,
but at the same time, though, it's like he's just dipping into his bag of like...
Yeah, she's a cat, been caged too long, now she's breaking out. So this one...
Well, that wouldn't kind of make sense.
Yeah, no, this one conceptually reminds me of, like... Good Girl Gone Bad before Good Girl Gone Bad, and not as good as Good Girl Gone Bad.
For sure.
Because
she's murdered high heels, so she's like a dominatrix. She's a little kinky.
Yeah. Let's see. What are some of the?
She's a vision in leather, assault in the wound.
Like salt on a wound.
Like
I do love I love the delivery of that.
That's
lyric. Like salt on a wound. That's so good.
And that
I do like that.
And that paints a picture.
I also love the lyric. Just a turn of a knob and she's real fine-tuned.
Yes,
that's good.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that is a good example of like a catchy little phrase that makes sense in the song.
Absolutely.
Fine-tuned, that's good.
Yeah, Gene's songs are really hit and miss, but this one, I think, conceptually, and some of the other ones too, like Burn Bitch Burn, like it almost like it seems like he's rewriting the same song over and over again.
Yeah.
Because when I think about the song Killer off of Creatures of the Night, her love is a gun, her love is a blade. Mm-hmm. She's a killer. She's a bitch is insane. All that shit. Like that to me is what we're hearing again, but just left over.
Yeah.
I mean, Murder in High Heels, Burn Bitch Burn, all that stuff. It's like
he doesn't have a lot of diversity in concept.
It's just talking about either like crazy chicks or crazy chicks.
Just freaky chicks.
Yeah. Should have had an album called Crazy Crazy Chicks. That should have been the next Kiss album. But anyway, so I think the album starts off strong, but by the end, not Thrills in the Night, but by the end, it does kind of weaken a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I think Paul was the one that arranged this album, and maybe that's why. If I had to be honest, I would say this album needs another track.
Yeah.
It needs a track 10.
It's short.
It needs a track 10 from Paul Stanley to round it out.
Agreed, 100%.
It needs another Paul and Desmond or Paul and Jean Beauvoir.
I do wish it ended on a Paul song.
It could have been done and it would have been easy because I just feel like you have 9 songs, which is like, why not 10?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like 10 is such an even number, and I know most folks will say, well, don't give me one more bonus filler if it's not as good. Keep the album nice and compact. Sure, fine. But if you got Paul and Desmond in the room, Paul and Sean, you're going to get a magic masterpiece.
100%.
And so to close the album out in a way that was kind of how it opened, fast and ferocious, or do a nice, another Thrills in the Night, whatever it is, it's just like 9 songs is too short, especially ending on 2 Gene fillers.
I was going to say, even I don't really have a problem with it being 9 songs. It's just the fact that the last 2 are Gene filler. Like, honestly, take out one of those last 2 Gene songs and do a Paul song.
Really? Okay.
And I'd be okay with it being 9 songs. Because I don't mind a short album if it fully, I mean, this album does pack a punch, but if it fully packs a punch all the way through and leaves you wanting more a little bit, I don't mind that. But it just needs to end on as strong of a note as it started on, and that's where they go wrong.
To me, there's a difference though between wanting a little more and feeling unfulfilled.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean? Like you want to be fulfilled but still want more.
Yeah.
As opposed to being fulfilled and have too much, or have not enough. And I feel like this album just leaves me wanting more, but not in a
good way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still a great album.
Yeah.
But maybe it needed one more song to be in a stellar album.
Right.
Or maybe it's a good album and needed one more to be a great album. Whatever you want to say. I just feel like listening to it because it's one of the shortest Kiss albums. I think it's only like 35 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
It is very short. Like 35 minutes long. So I think that if it had either one more Paul song to round it out at the end, or since Eric Carr had proven himself as a live vocalist doing Young and Wasted on the tour, give him a vocal.
100%. I agree.
Obviously he's been in the band now for 4 or 5 years at this point, so he's been there. He's recorded. He's been every show. Never missed a single show. He's a consummate professional.
He's talented, creative,
He
dedicated.
already has credits.
Yeah.
He's creative. He can do it. So it's like...
I just wish they would have let him soar a little bit more.
Let Eric shine a little bit. You let Peter and Ace do... Which, of course, they were, again, founding members, which is great.
Yeah.
But the idea behind Kiss was that you had 4 guys that were all lead vocalists. And they sort of lost that in this era. And again, Paul's, again, I get it, wanting to take the lead. Mm-hmm. You'll see more in the 80s, just singular artists, main frontman Bon Jovi, right? So I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. It's better when a band is a band.
I agree.
So you guys let us know what you guys think on Animalize. I mean, I think it's one of my top favorite Kiss albums. Maybe it would be in the top 5 for real if it had a little bit more juice to it. But what we got was absolutely insane. Again, I've had enough. Into the Fire, Under the Gun, and Lonely Against the Hunter. Probably my 3 favorites. What were your 3 favorites?
I think my 3 favorites definitely I've Had Enough.
Okay. Under the Gun,
and Thrills in the Night.
Makes sense. So we had 2.
Yep,
so yours
absolutely.
are all Paul, and I just had one.
And
I mean, team, but
Heaven's on Fire is also still perfect.
Heaven's on Fire. Yes.
I feel like it's in its own lane because it's its own thing.
It's in its own category, but also the live version's better. So you don't really get a whole bunch of live versions of these songs. So that's why I'm gonna look at these songs a little bit differently. But congrats to Kiss because this album was a success for them, even more of a success than Lick It Up was.
Yeah.
Lick It Up was like their first gold album in a while. This was their first platinum album in a while, and this album went platinum 3 months after it was released. So that's pretty quick.
That's great.
So almost within 90 days, it was already platinum. That was on December 12th. It was the best-selling album since Dynasty, and that was 5 years earlier. So Kiss had kind of gone down a little bit in terms of sales, and here they are back up to platinum status. So how's that, critics? Kiss will never survive without makeup. They're just a clown rock and roll band. Well, here they are writing really, really good songs and putting out awesome music. So I want to know what everybody else thinks of Animalize. And of course, you guys can see we have some Animalize stuff just all the way around here. I wanted to do an Animalize show and tell, but I knew this episode was going to run long, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to have everything kind of up here for everybody to look at.
Looking at the whole time.
Yeah, and clearly we have a Japanese copy of Asylum or Animalize right here, followed by a cassette. This is a 2014 re-release, and that's because my original pressing is over here, which we've been using the whole time to do the lyric sheet with. But one fun fact is, if you look at the font here on the song titles, that's the same font that Star Wars used for the new movies, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
That's crazy.
It's the same font.
Good
so
catch.
I like how in Star Wars they use a throwback font.
I love that. Only a graphic designer would catch that.
Yeah, and if you look on the cover here where their names, it's the same font as well.
Right.
So that's the same font. And then if you go watch the Kiss Army Nation podcast with Claudio and Pasquale, their thumbnails uses the same font there, so it has like a Kiss connection.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're right. No, graphic design and type is great. But when I got my first copy of this album, I was like, why does that look familiar? And I actually have a website where I can go and like identify fonts.
Yeah.
And it said, ITC, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's the font that Star Wars is using. Because I was looking at that when I was studying graphic design. So yeah, there you go.
That's great.
Fun fact there. Yeah, so here's some cool stuff. Already showed Daphne's lovely, legit vintage.
You can see it behind the record.
Animalize T-shirt, which
Love
we were kind of bummed that it has Bruce on. Not that we don't like Bruce, we love Bruce.
But it'd be cool to have Mark.
This is Mark St. John's era. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this is his era. When I think Animalize, I think Mark St.
100%
John.
same.
I think blistering solos. And so I have actually a couple pieces of Kiss merchandise that does feature Mark St. John. These are just bumper stickers. They're just bumper stickers, but how awesome are these
That's
bumper
so
stickers?
cool.
So you can clearly see
Wow, great images.
both of them have Mark St. John on them. This one being the back cover of the album.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a Photoshop before Photoshop. So this was one that they took pictures of all four members and cut them out and put, kind of like what you do. You
Right.
collage them together. You know, Photoshop before Photoshop, which I think is absolutely ridiculous as far as like the work that goes into that.
And like, why? Why could they not all be together for a photo?
I don't know. I don't know
That's
why.
so much work for no reason.
Yeah. Okay. This isn't the same photo from the back cover, but it's that same shoot.
Same shoot, yeah.
Because I'm looking at your shirt right now. That's the back cover, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, the album's right here. I could look, but I don't really care. I just love having Mark St. John on actual merchandise. Got these at a Kiss Expo for really, really cheap. Happy to have them and wanted to show them to you guys here.
That's cool because you don't have a ton of 80s merch, so when we can find something, it's exciting.
You're right. I don't have a lot of 80s merch. In fact, and even when I do, you know, the silent stuff ends up being, you know, Bruce.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I love Bruce.
We love Bruce.
But the more Mark St. John, the merrier. And actually, if you want to, right next to you is Animalize Live Uncensored on the shelf 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in. I had a panic attack before we started filming because I knew I had a copy of Animalize Live Uncensored, but I couldn't find it.
Ooh.
And so I was like, I know I have it, but where is it? Or am I just tripping and I don't actually have it? But no, I do. And this is actually, I think, is that Portuguese?
I think so.
This looks like a Portuguese copy.
I think so.
Of Animalize Live Uncensored because the back, all of it, the tag, I mean, the songs are in English, of course, but the paragraphs and then the information down here below is all in either Spanish or Portuguese.
Yeah, I don't think it's Spanish. I think it's Portuguese.
I think it's Portuguese as well. So yeah, how cool is that? I haven't actually watched this yet because I just watch it on my computer, but we need to pop this in at some point and watch this because I think this is one that Jeb got me.
Nice.
So thanks for that, bro. But yeah, so some quick show and tell stuff there because we're gonna segue perfectly into the collector's corner.
Of course.
Because I actually lied to everybody because we talked about how I'm always lying to you.
What's new?
At least I confess my lies, though. At least I confess my lies because I'm pretty sure when KOL released the Animalize anniversary merch, we were kind of like, okay, nothing really here exciting. I'm not going to get anything. The next week, I went ahead and bought the Animalize nail print stickers.
Yeah, for some reason, this is the thing you were the most excited about.
I was. It was
always the niche.
It was very
stuff.
unique. It was very niche. Something that Kiss has never done before. Not that I've seen. You know, I don't really care for any more vinyl. I have 3 copies of Animalize
right here
on vinyl.
Yeah.
I don't need another one that costs $1 bazillion. That comes
Fair.
with a stupid shirt anyway. You know, I don't need a bundle. I don't need
Especially
any of that.
when, no offense, none of the t-shirt designs
It's nothing
were really
exciting.
cool anyway.
Yeah, no, it's nothing exciting. So I thought, you know what? I'll just pass and not get anything. And then a week later, I said, I gotta go and add to cart.
It wasn't that expensive.
It was like $15.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was. I'm hoping that it's cool. I hope the packaging is cool. They're literally
There's
not.
no packaging.
There is no packaging.
What? That's it?
That is lame.
What?
That is super lame.
It is literally just a sheet of nail
I was
stickers.
really hoping for something cool, but I paid $15 for that. That is
I
ass.
can't believe they're not even in.
There's no
a
Kiss
package.
logo. It doesn't even say 2024 on it. It doesn't say anything.
I think they literally intend people to use these and not keep them as a collector's item, which is so silly.
It says-
Who do they think their audience is?
It does say Kiss Animalize on the background. Let's go ahead and open these.
I might as well. It's just
This
in a
will be
clear
something.
sleeve.
These will, I'll probably have you use these at some point or something, or have somebody use these. I don't want to keep these, but I was hoping for a really cool package that had.
$15 for a tiny sheet of stickers with no cool package. Come on.
I mean, the stickers are cool, I guess. It
I
has
guess,
the Kiss
but
logo on there.
$15.
But yeah,
I thought that was cheap until I saw what came out of that.
I was hoping for. Yeah, no, that's That's unfortunate. But again,
Dang,
the KOL
KOL.
merch has been lame lately, and everybody's been saying it.
It's been so
I can think
disappointing.
back to last year, the Psycho Circus. I'm looking right at it. The deck of cards.
Yeah.
And the button set, that was really cool. But for some reason this year, the new merch releases have just been awful. But I guess I'll show these guys. There you go. There's the Animalize nail print on stickers. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Let's
I guess.
go, I guess.
But yeah, I do have one more thing to show though. And I was going to show this last time, but it didn't arrive in time. So if you guys watched the last episode, I had Joey Casada and Tom and Zeus from Shout Out Loudcast on, and that was a fun episode, talking about the book Raise Your Glasses, which you guys, if you haven't gotten a copy of that book, please get it. I
it's
bought
so
another
cool.
one, gave it to Jeb.
Nice.
He's excited to read it, so it was really cool, but I thought it'd be really cool to show them the latest edition of my collection, which was Howard the Duck, Volume 13, Issue 13. And I had also, with it, gotten issue number 12, but number 12 was delayed. So now that I have it, it's, wow, packaged very well in here. eBay sellers, every eBay seller has their own way of packaging things, and it's annoying. You never know what they're going to do. This is a puzzle. This is a puzzle that I intend to solve right here, right now, without bending it, but I'm wondering how destructive am I going to have to be, because this is BS. Okay, come on.
Oh, it's taped in there, too.
It's taped in there like twice over. Which, again, I'm grateful for, but at the same time, like when it's already in a cardboard box.
Yeah, I think it's safe.
And just so everybody knows, I already took it out of the cardboard box, so we got layers upon layers of packaging here. But anyway, so most people, myself included, thought that Kiss's first ever Marvel comic debut was in the Blood comic, the Marvel comic super special issue number 1. It's not true. Their first ever appearance in a comic book was Howard the Duck number 12.
Okay.
And they appear on the last panel.
Nice.
And then they return in issue number 13, and they're there for at least the first few panels. I actually tried to read the Howard the Duck, and I could not follow it. Now, I mean, I'm not a comic book reader, but I can typically follow a comic book and follow a story.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I mean, maybe I need to read 1 through 11. Really don't want to. Really don't want to. But whatever Kiss was doing and saying made absolutely no sense. Even Howard a couple times was like, huh? And I'm like, I'm with you, Howard. I got a clue. But no, it bothers me that they put Howard the Duck in Endgame. And
You'll never let that go.
They didn't put Kiss. These lazy bastards didn't want to pay for the rights to Kiss. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. No, but it was funny. They snuck in Howard the Duck and gave him one of the Ravager's guns.
Yeah.
And they didn't have Kiss at all. But they did mention Kiss in a deleted scene. Or at least Ace Frehley, in a deleted scene in Guardians of the Galaxy.
True.
So that's really cool. But no, so here you guys go. Howard the Duck, issue number 12. Kiss's very first appearance in a Marvel comic. Got both of them for less than $30.
Nice.
Which was pretty cool. So, yeah, for a Kiss fan, I can't complain there. But, yeah, I think that is it, except for the, of course, Kiss Merch of the Year.
Yes.
I'm showing lots of stuff. So it's funny because I skipped that in the last episode.
Right.
I didn't show anything from 2010 in the last episode. So today I'm going to show something from 2010 and 2011 just so I can catch myself up. And if you guys know already... you might already expect this because this is my favorite Kiss item to come out of 2010. Besides the drum head, that's memorabilia. This is merchandise.
So cool.
The Kiss Flip video camera that came out in 2010. The only way you could get this is if you got the VIP meet and greet packages on the Hottest Show on Earth tour, or you were part of the road crew.
Yeah.
Because the one that this belonged to, it was given to one of the guys in the road crew.
Nice.
Who sold it to a big collector who kept it until I bought it. And so, yeah, no, this is one of my favorite things because, again, it's that unique niche Kiss stuff that I like so much.
Kiss tech.
And when I bought this, it was not cheap. I've kind of forgotten how much I paid for it intentionally. But it's still really cool to have because of how rare it is.
And it works. We actually used it to record an episode of the podcast once.
Yeah, we did. Jeb and I filmed episode 20, I think, with it, something like that. Talking about the last Kiss show before the last Kiss show.
Yep.
But no, I might use it again because it's one of those things that it's just too cool not to use. It has built-in memory, So, which is it's convenient but also dangerous.
Yeah.
You don't have a
like removable SD card or anything.
you have a removable SD card, so that's cool. No fumbling with that. But also, if this dies, whatever's on it goes with
forever.
it. You can't get it off of there. So it's you just plug it right in the computer. So it's just as convenient as it is inconvenient, but still a really cool item. Looks like crap because it was HD in 2010.
Right.
So yeah, by today's standards, it's not that great, but it's the item itself. It's the item itself.
Yeah.
It's the functionality. It's the kiss on the front of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. So definitely a highlight in my collection, especially when it comes to 2010. But 2011, you guys may have already seen this in a previous video, and if not, this is your cue and your chance to go watch the video where I get my very own KISS pinball machine.
Yes.
This is the 2011 KISS tabletop electronic pinball machine that came out, like I said, in 2011. And this, it was distributed by iCup. It was made in China, and it was distributed by Live Nation Merchandise. And this, when this came out, I was like, gotta have this, but of course never could. So after years and years and years of searching, I finally have the tabletop KISS pinball machine, and we're gonna try to tomorrow go find a little stand for it, because I want to have this displayed in the room so that if I want to, anytime, I can walk up and play a quick game of KISS pinball.
It's fun. It's awesome.
It really is fun. I mean, it is a neat little novelty toy.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of fun stuff that KISS fans like me just go for. And so I hope that everybody enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Animalize, one of my favorite KISS albums, especially from 80s KISS albums. And so I want to know what you guys think of these tracks. If you want to go along with a track-by-track review just like we did, please. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this album, on these songs, because I guarantee you guys know things and hear things that we don't.
100%. That's the fun of this.
That's the beauty, especially if you guys were actually there at that time. Maybe you saw a show on that. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know if you guys saw a show, where'd you see it, who were you with, anything that happened you want to talk about, please let me know, because as young KISS fans after the fact, we just love getting immersed in this stuff, and so we need your guys' help. So I really do value your guys' opinions and your comments. It does mean a lot. Again, 3,000 subscribers.
Thank you so
much.
Is
insane.
That's awesome.
So we really do appreciate everybody. And if you want more content like this, please head over to the Patreon. The Patreon is really getting started. Jeb and I are debuting a brand new show for the Patreon only. KISS Army Things Backstage Pass. We're going to go beyond the podcast. We're going to get real deep into the music, real deep into the merchandise and collecting stuff that we don't do here on the podcast. And so if you want more KISS Army, I've been trying to think of different ways for Jeb to get involved since he doesn't live around here anymore. And we just figured it out. And so if you're wanting some more extra content, Patreon is the way to go. Become a KISS Army Things super fan. In the meantime, though, I do want to thank our current patrons. We have Greg, Rex, Darren, Matt, Bjorn. You guys rock, because we have been chatting in the KISS Army Things chat. We've been commenting. You guys have been getting some bonus videos, some exclusive videos, and extended videos, and it's been a really great fun time talking with you guys. And so head over there to the Patreon so that you can see our new show that will be debuting on this coming Wednesday.
Nice.
And I'm mentioning it at the end because I don't want just anybody over at the Patreon. Okay?
Right.
If you're watching this to the very end, you're the kind of person that belongs on the Patreon.
Yeah.
So yeah, this isn't just for everybody, you know what I mean, though. So if you want more exclusive content, check it out. We'd love for you guys to check it out. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next episode. Will be maybe in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think the next week will be a shorter form Xander solo video talking about a specific piece of KISS collecting KISS merch. So stay tuned for that. It'll be a lot of fun. But we are going to be getting back into more album reviews here pretty soon. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on the KISS Army Things podcast. My name is Xander.
My name is Daphne.
Peace out and rock on.